It looks fast here, but it's just standing around going, what color do I make this? How do I make a fish face? Well, I don't know. This is the carving of the musky fish. We sized the cake to be life size. In real life, the big musky fishes that get caught are 3 feet, 4 feet long. So my board is nearly 4 feet long. The cake itself is a little over 3 feet long with all the fins included. So we wanted a real life-size fish, baked the sheet cakes, chopped them up. Even the board, so the customer asked for the fish to look like it is mounted on a wooden board with a plaque underneath, you know, something you would hang on your wall. So in cutting the base, rather than just doing a normal piece of wood cut to a rectangle, we took a hole saw and cut out each corner to make the base look like a wooden plaque that you would hang on your wall. And carving the fish was kind of tricky. He is a Tootsie Roll shape, so we had to, we had the one reference photo to go by. It was yellow cake, lemon buttercream, vanilla buttercream crumb coat on the outside. The main trick was where to get like his backbone. You know, you can't just have a wavy backbone in the back. It's got to be nice and straight so it's a believable real fish. He's got a belly that hangs down the middle, and then his mouth. The mouth I had to keep widening as I went, because what I thought was correct, I knew I needed to make it a little bit bigger, because in the end, once you add more buttercream and fondant and detailing, the mouth is going to get more closed space-wise. So I kept pushing that more open, plenty of room for big teeth. And then the final buttercream crumb coat included like all the markings for the gills and the eye sockets and jaw bones and all that jazz. That way Kathy, when she decorates it, has a nice guideline for. All right, so that was a big piece of fondant that we had to just slap down on this fish here. It was a long haul, but just had to get it on there and then go back with some tools to actually make it look more like a fish. And let me tell you, I have a picture of a muskie, which I've never seen. I didn't actually know they were real until this moment, but they're weird. So I kind of realized I needed to cover up some of this with plastic so it wouldn't dry out, because the face was going to take a lot of time. Like, they're weird fish. I don't even know what to say. They have like these neck ridges. I don't know fish anatomy, whatever. So I just got a picture and gonna put them all in. Pretend I know what a fish face looks like. Doing a little bit more around the neck to get the gill in, and then the best part is adding scales. I think this is gonna take about 30 seconds in the video, but it felt like 4 years. I took a little like frosting tip, little round frosting tip, and just made little indent marks all the way down the whole body. And then trim off that extra fluff. Woo. So I think the tricky part for this one was trying to figure out how to add the coloring, because the muskie has sort of this, I don't know, ombre from like a yellowish green to a brown, from sort of the belly to the back, and then all these stripes. So part of the trick was getting that ombre to happen without it turning into a muddy color, and the fins that you can see there are going to be brown, so I was using paper to try and keep the airbrush spray from getting onto those. Basically pulled out all the browns and yellows and greens and had fun. And then used a bit of white to help blend it.
next step was making the tail. So this had to be self-supporting off the edge of the board. So I've actually cut a piece of very thin cardboard and then sandwiched 2 pieces of thin gum paste around that I'm texturing to make it look more like a, you know, that thin ridge texture. And then just setting that to dry, adding little foams in there to give it some shape so it's not just a flat piece. And that'll hang out for a bit and dry. Now I get to make some fins, little fins, just teardrop cutters, little airbrush, and then add some petal dust on to get sort of the spot marking, but they'll need to dry first, so they'll just hang out. And then when I was going to do some of the more fine detail colors, we have petal dust, which is sort of a dry application that I started with, as opposed to just doing wet paint. A little bit of dust everywhere, but I kept that on some wax paper and used it to start filling in the mouth. They got some weird coloring up here, so we're just gonna make it up. Just add some black here and some brown there and do the tail bits and fins while I'm at it. And then another thing I was working on was to use some of the, actually use water on a paintbrush to pull away some of the airbrush color. And that sort of gets that shiny, sort of like the white zone on the neck of the fish. And then go in and add that bright red gill, just hanging out under there. Yay. And then paint that face, make him beautiful. A good part of me would just, it looks fast here, but it's just standing around going, what color do I make this? How do I make a fish face? Well, I don't know. It's a fun time. And then we're gonna add some stripes. Woo! All the stripes. They're sort of like these weird, they're not just stripes, they're like these weird, I don't know, long shapes and dots. Maybe there's a pattern, but I wasn't sure. And they're all, once you paint like the main color, have to go back and outline them all. So, spent a lot of time mixing green. This is a good part of this fish. Many shades, 50 shades of green. A pun that everyone will love.
50 shades of fish.
50 shades of fish. Woo! Nobody liked that pun. It's okay. You can hear the groans from here. Is there something fishy about that pun? Add some spots on his head. I actually started grabbing some brown to sort of blend it up onto that brown back of the fish. So a lot of blending. And then we go back and outline, whee! With the darker green. It's like weird leopard spots. Like if you stretch leopard spots and made them green. For the record, this is about a life-size fish. I was looking them up online. Again, didn't know they existed before this, but they're sort of this big. You pull that from a lake and you're like, oh, this was living under me. Cool. I found that a little scary. Paint all the things. My back is getting a little sore at this point, bending over this fish, but that's fine. Ah, yeah, is it teeth time? It's tooth time! Alright, the best part of this fish, and by which I mean the most terrifying, aside from the part that it exists, is it has these really sharp teeth. They're apparently predator fish, so I rolled fangs and sort of, you know, roll a little strip of gum paste, make it super sharp, stick it on a wire, and shove it in its mouth, and it's fearsome. Yay. Fierce fish. Add a little more detail to that beauteous face. Stare at the fish. Wonder why I'm making a fish. What do we do next? Oh, we gotta make a base. Woot. All right, So there's gonna be a brown board, a really big brown board. So that just means making a lot of brown fondant and figuring out that all the dyes I think I need are not enough yet to make a dark brown. So we're gonna mix forever. Instant fondanting. All right, so once the fondant is on, next step is to make it look like wood. So grab some of that airbrush dye, paint the board, and actually use sort of a dry brush technique to make it look more like wood grain. So once the paint is on, you take the brush, let the paint dry just a little bit so it's tacky, and then sweep a dry brush back and forth on it, and it sort of pulls the color and makes it look more like grain. And then we stick some fins on. There they go. Beautiful. Add some more mouth details. Oh yeah, gotta give him a red maw so he can chomp things with his red, sharp, toothy maw. Terror of the deep, the Muskie. There he is! So fierce. Got a little name plaque on there, so it looks like he's been caught and stuffed and mounted. A trophy fish. Mar. I don't know what noises fish make.
Mar.